I don't understand how he got a whole phone recording off of my personal cell phone. And even then, so how did you how did you get into that said device without having my Apple ID and password to even to have access to those audios? Because again, those were sent from my now personal device that I have.
Yes, Your Honor. I call Michael Drake, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Drake, I've already sworn you in.
Okay. Mr. Drake, I'm going to skip over a lot of stuff because of what the judge asked us to focus on. Very quickly, have you ever undergone treatment for drug or alcohol related issues?
No, sir.
Do you use illegal drugs?
No.
Did you submit some character affidavits in support of your parenting of the child that you're asking the court to consider?
Yes.
Are you fully employed?
Yes.
Are you able to afford the expenses for Thimbani at this time?
Yes.
Are you seeking child support from Ms. Kendall at this time?
No.
Why is that?
I really don't need it.
Do you understand? Are you concerned about Ms. Kendall's financial ability at this point?
I am.
Is that part of the reason you're not seeking support at this time?
Yes, that too.
Okay. You filed a petition for custody and support initially. Why was that?
Well, we didn't have a legal parenting plan in place, and pretty much, her financial situation just being unstable.
So was it? Did you have any concerns about her drug usage when you filed the petition?
Yes. Yes.
During your time period that when you lived together, did Ms. Kendall use drugs?
No. Well, cigarette use.
Okay. Can
you ask that question one more time?
Sure. During the time that they lived together, did Ms. Kendall use illegal drugs?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't see that. No.
Okay. Why did y'all divide up? Why did y'all split up?
We just had differences which caused us to split up.
Yeah. When did you
Disagreements.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying disagreements.
Okay. When did you first become aware or suspect that Ms. Kendall was using drugs?
Well, when the daycare worker, when I heard from the daycare, that Bonnie smelled like marijuana, it made me very concerned for Bonnie, his safety as well.
So you're concerned about the child's safety and well-being in mother's care, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Right now you have just as a matter of fact, full custody of Thimbani, is that right?
Yes.
And that occurred May 15, I believe, is that correct, of this year?
Yes.
And how did that occur?
She abandoned the child, and I just took it from there and just have been raising him, all on my own, and been doing well.
Did you know, you've heard Ms. Kendall testify, did you know before May 15 that she was going to be leaving on May 15?
No, she told me after the fact that she left, that she.
You all had discussed the fact, though, that you wanted to relocate previously, correct?
Yes, we did discuss. Well, she did, mention her in her plan.
Okay, but she never gave you a date, correct?
No, she hasn't given me a date.
And were you surprised when you found out that the child and her clothing had been dropped off at the daycare?
Yes, very surprised.
And when you only, and just to be clear, you found out after she left that she had dropped off the child in your custody, correct?
Yes.
Do you know where she's living now?
Well, I think she
know,
may be living, but I don't really truly know. No, I do not know where she is specifically living, where she's living exactly.
has she given you an address where she's living?
No, she has not.
You know if she's working?
No, I don't know if she's working.
Do you know what family, friends, or other people she may be staying with?
No, I do not know that.
Do you have any contact for information for her other than her phone number?
No.
There are two parts, and we discussed this regarding custody of Thembani. One is decision-making, which is called legal custody. Now, in terms of decision-making regarding Thembani, on a temporary basis, right now, what do you think is in Thembani's best interest?
It's in his best interest to remain with me. I can provide
Decision-making, okay?
I'm sorry.
I'm just talking about decision-making.
Mhm.
So what do you think is in Thembani's best interest regarding decision-making at this time?
In his best interest to remain with me as far as decision making. I mean, for me to be the main decision maker. I'm sorry.
Are you willing to discuss big decisions with her before you make them? For example, and I'm just going to use like going to the dentist or getting some shots.
I don't mind discussing.
Okay, so you'd be okay discussing these things as long as you got the final decision if you disagreed, right?
Yes.
Is that necessary at this point in time, do you believe, for the judge to do that, given that Ms. Kendall is now living in Missouri?
Yes.
Now, with respect to what we call parenting time or physical custody, time spent with one parent or another, what do you think right now is in Thembani's best interest?
His best interest is to just, as I mentioned, just to remain with me for the time being.
Okay. Would you be willing to let Ms. Kendall visit?
Sure, she can visit with supervision.
Why do you want supervision? Why do you feel that's necessary?
Just so she won't leave with the child or anything else that may be out of my control.
Would you want her to have drug and alcohol testing? Do you feel that's in the child's best interest?
Absolutely.
Would you be willing to submit to random drug and alcohol testing at the same time?
Yes.
Would you be willing to allow mother to have overnights during her visitation period if she was granted visitation?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Kendall, you may ask questions.
So, Mr. Drake, do you recall our text message on March 1st, where I mentioned to you that my mother has cancer? I have now secured an apartment because I wanted to relocate to have more help with Bonnie on my end.
Objection, Your
Do you
Honor.
remember what your reply was that day?
What's the objection, Mr. Tanner?
Best evidence, just like in the prior case that Ms. Luton put up.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Best evidence, Your Honor, just like Ms. Luton did in the prior case. If we're talking about a text message, we should see the text message.
Do you have the text message?
Yes, I have a screenshot of it, yes.
All right, let me see it. So you can ask him questions about it.
Okay, so again, in that text message where we had discussed me leaving Georgia due to the fact that my mom was sick and I wanted to relocate it, do you recall that conversation?
Yes.
And in that conversation, do you remember what you said?
No.
Is this the conversation you had? Can you look at it, Mr. Drake? Because it says
Um,
presented here is
oh,
not.
are you asking me if I remember what you're showing? Is that what you're asking?
Do you remember this conversation in text?
Yes.
So why are you presenting to the court that she abandoned the child if you said, don't worry about them, but you take care
Well,
of
that's because, well, she delayed leaving when she was served, process served. She delayed leaving. So she ended up staying past the date that she was intending to leave, which was it was April 21st, from what she told me. So she ended up delaying the time she was going to leave. I'm sorry?
I'm confused why you think
Yeah.
it's an abandonment issue if she told you.
She told me, but when she was process served, she ended up not leaving. She ended up staying in Georgia. So I wasn't really sure when she was going to leave exactly, because she told me that she was going to leave April 21st. That's when she was planning. But this was before she was served her papers.
Right. And you know she can't leave the child once you served her.
Yes, I understand. Yes, but I wasn't sure, she didn't end up leaving on April 21st. So I wasn't sure when she was going to leave exactly. And she didn't notify me until after she had left.
Mr. Drake,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm confused. So you're going to have to help me here.
Yes, ma'am.
This makes it very clear that her mom is sick and that she wants to go to Missouri to take care of her mother, for which your response is go do what you need to do, which makes sense. That's
Yes,
still
ma'am.
supposed to do. You're being family.
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
take care of the Bonnie while you're gone.
Yes, ma'am.
She then tells you she's not going to leave without her baby. There's a suit that hits that prevents her from leaving because a suit prevents her from leaving the state with the child. And then you file a suit saying there's an abandonment.
Well, she didn't notify me that she was about to be leaving, when that day that she chose to left and for the family emergency. She didn't notify me.
Also, Your Honor, if I might say, there's nothing claiming in the petition that there was abandonment. There's claiming that mother left and that there are these concerns about mother's behavior in the past, and that father needs to have primary or sole physical custody at this point.
The word abandonment has been used several times on this hearing. No.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
The word abandonment was specifically used.
Specifically used by non-lawyers.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, ma'am. It was used by non-lawyers in a more colloquial fashion than you or I would use them.
Mr. Tatum, I'm assuming you probably hadn't had a chance to look at these emails or these text messages. This is a generally new case. I'm assuming that might be the case because the way you presented it in your opening is that your client had no clue what was happening. And all of a sudden she drops a kid off and poof, she's gone to Missouri to, to fairyland to enjoy her life and has no regard for what's going on with her child as she smokes herself away. That's basically how this came across the court. And you asked me to do a guardian ad litem on it when it's clear from reading these messages that your client was aware that her mother was sick with cancer and specifically told her to do what she needed to do as a result of that. And when she does do it, then he uses that opportunity to then file this document acting as if she had no regard, like she doesn't want to be a part of her child's life. And then the only issue you present to the court isn't that you have a worker at the school who thinks she gets a whiff of some marijuana on a child's bag, for which mom has not smoked previously. Mr. Drake has not indicated she's smoking previously, and he wants me to submit her to a drug testing on a whiff of a book bag.
Well, Judge, I think that we can resolve that issue based on cross and the evidence that we can introduce showing that mother is seeking weed, mother's smoking weed, and mother's doing this in June of 2023.
Is doing what in June of 2023?
Seeking marijuana.
And where's the evidence of that, you say?
The evidence is that I was going to present in my cross. It is text messages between Ms. Kindle and certain of her friends or supplier.
Okay. Well, let's see, because for right now, this right here, this message right here concerns me about the idea that the mom abandoned a child when he knows good and well where the mother
And then, Your Honor, just to admit that second text message where he said before May 15th that he didn't have notice that I left due to the emergency, this was way before then. I had told him I just talked to Miss Christina that Friday before May the 15th. That was still his week that he had than Bonnie, and told him what was going on again. And then I finally had to just leave due to my mom's emergency surgery.
All right. I'm done on the issue of the whole abandonment thing. Let's go to the issue of any issues that you might have regarding the issue of drugs, Mr. Taylor.
Very good. I have no further questions for Mr. Drake, Your Honor.
I'm going to reserve on Mr. Drake. I'm gonna have a few for him.
Very good, Your Honor. I'm going to call Ms. Kindle on cross, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Kendall, you've been sworn.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Kindle, you're currently living in St. Louis, Missouri, is that right?
Yes.
And what's your address there?
4304 Fairview Avenue, St. Louis, Missouri.
And is this a rental or are you living with someone else?
I'm currently residing with my mother.
Okay, so you did not take the rental that you had mentioned previously to Mr. Drake, is that correct?
Yes, due to the fact that I did stay longer than anticipated, so I ended up losing the apartment.
Okay. So are you working right now?
Yes,
And who do you work for?
I currently still do Uber, and then I do at-home home care.
Who do you work the home care for?
My two grandparents.
So you're having your grandparents pay you? Is that it?
Yes, it's a state-funded program. I'm waiting all the paperwork to get finalized, but yeah,
Currently, you're not receiving income from them, is that correct?
not at the moment, no.
And how often are you driving the Uber?
Every day.
Um, do you smoke weed?
No,
Okay. Have you smoked weed in the past?
no,
Have you smoked weed since you were pregnant?
no, I haven't.
And when, ma'am, you're 5 months pregnant, is that correct?
15 weeks, yes.
15 weeks?
Hmm.
Okay, so that would put you back to, I'm trying to think of, let's see. That would be May, April, March, early March, you got pregnant, is that right?
I would think so, but I found out I was pregnant April the 2nd. I was 8 weeks at that time.
All right, and I'm going to share our screen with you. God willing, it'll work. Can you see this?
No,
Apologies.
can you try the share again?
1 second, I have my young associate helping me because this is not my forte.
Okay.
Okay, can you see the screen here, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, and do you recognize this conversation?
What there isn't a conversation. These are just lists right now.
Okay, who's saying that? I'm so sorry.
It's the court.
sorry.
Your screen right now just
Yes.
has a list of conversations.
Okay, and do you see this list of conversations, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, and do you know Chris Dodson?
Yes, he's an associate of an associate.
And do you know the numbers 470-367-4472?
No, I don't know those numbers.
And did Chris Dodson provide you with weed in the past?
No, when my son was away and I would have get-togethers, friends that did smoke would ask. So yeah.
Okay, so you're saying you do not smoke. And when was the last time, have you ever smoked marijuana?
No, I have not since college.
Okay, thank you. Can you get that to work? Isn't that you in this video?
Yes, that is me.
Okay, and is that a blunt we just saw in your hand?
That is what it's called, a herbal blunt. That is it has Murdoch root in there, a lot of other herbs, but that's not marijuana.
Okay, so you're saying you're not smoking marijuana in that video, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Get that one to work. And you recollect this picture of you, correct?
Yes.
And you see the smoke coming out of your mouth. Are you saying that that's not marijuana either?
That is not. That's from the herbal blunt that you just witnessed in the last video.
And you're saying, again, this is the same thing, just an herbal blunt that you're exhaling for the camera, is that right?
Yes. I had brought that from a smoke and vape shop.
A smoke and bake shop where?
It's called Smoke and Puff. What's that street?
It's what?
It's called Smoke and Vape. If you go down Covington Heights, like Covington Drive, you should run straight into it.
And you're saying there are things that you can smoke that you buy from here.
Mm-hmm. They're called pre-roll herbal blunts. So they have non-THC, different products, vapes, things of that nature, but no like marijuana is sold there.
Ma'am, were you pregnant at this time?
Pregnant at which time?
Were you pregnant during the time that these pictures were taken in which you claim you were smoking an herbal blunt?
No, I wasn't pregnant.
And during the time where we were having, do you recall having a conversation regarding moving and your fear that your children be taken by defects?
Pretty much.
You recall having a conversation like that recently?
I mean, probably so, but I didn't had a lot of conversations due to the nature of this whole case. So I'm not sure which specific conversation you're referring to.
I'm gonna play a tape for you and tell me if you identify your voice on this.
The decision was go ahead and let Michael have Bonnie for now, because
Is that your voice on the tape?
Yes.
I continue to play tape.
I'm just not financially stable. And then on top of that, me fighting this case thus far and then being scammed out of money has now resulted in me like literally having to struggle to now maintain my bills and to just pay my rent and whatnot. So it's like if we were to go to court next week, I could be deemed unfit. And then the fact that he has called defects on me too to try to get the upper hand in the case. They can't even like try to take my unborn baby when it's born and just award it to the state. So it's just a real fucked up situation and position I'm in. So I'm like, instead of stressing myself out even more and like digging myself in a deeper hole, I just have to, forfeit this time around and go back home to St. Louis, get set up there, have the baby there and just, have my nourishing family and support from them. And then that way I can get up on my feet a little bit more so I'm in a better position to fight the case financially from a financial standpoint. So that's kind of where I'm at with things. And that was the hard decision I had to make because obviously I don't want to leave Bonnie here. Leave him here or just, feel like I'm just not fighting for him. But at this point, it's like, bitch ass Michael has literally put me in this position so I have no choice at this point. Because if I continue to try to fight the case, it's just only going to backfire on me at this point. And then I'm going to have negative commentary in the courts, and then I'm going to get my parental rights taken away due to my situation now. So just when I talk to family and, I've been sitting on this decision for a couple of days now, and that's just what is the most logical approach to, being able to fight for somebody in the future without me being deemed unfit for the court at the moment.
What is this, the audio related to?
Your Honor, it relates to two things. One is that she did not leave simply because of her mother. In fact, she left.
No, that's what I'm asking you. Where'd you get the audio from? What is it?
The audio was a recording on a mutually owned device that Ms. Kindle had left in Mr. Drake's apartment or care.
Sorry, what?
Mr. Drake paid for certain phones. There was an extra phone there, and the phone was replaced, and the recording was on the phone that was left.
Objection, Your Honor, because since 2021, this is the phone that I've had. He does not have my iPhone 7. I have that in my possession.
How did he get the recording?
That's what I'm sitting here trying to wonder myself, because I sent that specific recording to 3 friends due to the fact that I was trying to get a lawyer to fight my case for me, but I ended up getting scammed by that lawyer out of money. And then which put me behind in my bills, like Cardinal.
Recording, how did he get Mr. Drake, how did you get the recording?
It was on a device that I found. And
it was on a device that you found?
Yes, ma'am.
Found where?
I found it among my things, ma'am.
I honestly feel like he just had my phone bugged, because literally since we've been broken up, I've had all of my possessions.
Okay, wait a minute. How did you get the items among your phone? What do you mean by that?
No, well, what are you asking me, Your Honor? Are you asking me how did the recording get on the phone? Is that what you're at? I'm trying to understand the question, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
I'm asking you, how did you get the phone amongst your things? This happened in May. I'm assuming you all haven't been together. So how did you get the phone?
I found it, Your Honor. I found it among my things.
Amongst your things?
Among the things that I, moved. When we moved, we had U-Haul boxes, and I found it among that.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I will have to refute that because literally none of my personal things have been in his possession. He actually dropped off the last of my personal things to me earlier this year, and which was just a coat and some little jewelry trinkets, and that was about it. I don't understand how he got a whole phone recording off of my personal cell phone. And even then, so how did you how did you get into that said device without having my Apple ID and password to even to have access to those audios? Because again, those were sent from my now personal device that I have.
That recording would have been, I'm assuming, in 2023. So you're saying that it was recorded on which device did you get? Where is the device?
Yes, Your Honor. Device is in my possession, Your Honor.
And on that device, it was downloaded. How did you, what made you open the device that you hadn't seen in several years to look for it?
Oh, it was in the box, Your Honor. And I didn't know whose device it was. I happened to open it, and that's how I came across the recording, Your Honor.
And when you opened it, it didn't have any codes on it. You just were able to.
Well, the password. I mean, it was like a little sticky note of a password on there on the device. So I just entered that and was able to get in.
And it was your
device I'm sorry, go ahead, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
It was your device?
No, no. Well, from after I looked at it, I mean, when I saw everything, I figured, once I saw everything, the photos and everything like that, I was shocked, and I was like, oh, this must have been her device. But I didn't know that at first, that this was her device, Your Honor.
Okay. So the photos that you just showed, all those photos came off of this device?
Well, yes, they did. They came off that device, Your Honor.
Those photos are actually on my social media, Your Honor. It's on my Instagram page.
And social media as well, too, Your Honor.
And when did you have those documents?
The ones from social media, Your Honor? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, when did you see those?
I saw those recently. I just happened to, come across her page, and I saw, her photos of her pregnant.
And Your Honor, can I mention that my Instagram and all my social media pages are private? You would have to request me to see anything on my social media.
And I can show you, Your Honor, that I can actually still see her wall of photos, as, I'm coming across her page on my Facebook.
Oh, so you're saying that y'all are connected as friends?
Well, not anymore, but I can still see her wall of like photos on her Facebook page from my profile.
How, when I have you blocked on Facebook?
Your Facebook page or her Instagram page?
It's a Facebook page. I didn't say anything about Instagram.
But I have you blocked on Facebook. Michael Drake, you're blocked on Facebook.
I can show you.
Able to
I can show you right here.
Thank you. Okay. All right, thanks. Anything else?
Yes, can you ask him what device it is? He never still answered that question. Is it a phone? Is it a tablet? What device is it?
I think it's a cell phone that had the code written on a sticky on the front of it.
Yes, ma'am.
So what kind of phone is it? Because I have my iPhone 6S and my iPhone 7. And then the only two iPhone devices I have outside of this now 11.
I'm not too good with iPhones as far as what type it is.
So how is it that I have both of my iPhones in my possession with this current one that I do have, and you supposedly have my old iPhone device?
All right, I'm gonna let you all resolve whatever privacy issues. You can resolve those at a later time, and figure those things out at that time. All right, Mr. Tanum, any additional questions you might have for her?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to grant the motion for the guardian ad litem. I don't think it's necessary. I think if for 2.5 years you kind of were able to manage, and there were no real issues other than an issue about the child going to a daycare one time with a soiled diaper, and perhaps a smell of an herbal blunt, which she says she was certain or not certain. I don't know. I can't say that I'm completely ignorant to the fact that there are other vapes and things that could produce smoke and those similar smells, but I can't tell you if that's true or not. I think there's been sufficient evidence to submit at least the consideration that there could be marijuana use. However, and I don't know whether or not you are continuing to use marijuana or not, and whether or not that will make if you are pregnant and are not using marijuana, then that would mean your test would likely be negative. And then if it is, I don't know if it necessarily answers the question whether she did in the past. And I don't know if whether you did in the past would affect whether or not your parenting needs are met. I don't know, but I think there's at least something to present to the court to ask for the test. So I will grant that request. But I'm also going to allow visitation so that we can kind of figure it out. But I don't think that she needs supervised visitation. The concern that you have about her leaving the state, I'm going to give her permission to leave the state with the child. The court retains jurisdiction of this child, and that's where we'll have our hearings in this state. But I think it was very clear she was going to Missouri, at least for the benefit of her family and to get some support, particularly having a second child on the way. So we will consider visitation in two manners. One, we'll have one weekend where she can come to Georgia, and we'll have one weekend where she can bring the child to St. Louis. How old is the child now?
He's 3.
It might make a lot of sense. And I know he's in a program, and I know you don't really like to bring your child out of programs, but he is 3. Maybe we can do wherein he'll do a week in Missouri, a month.
I'm sorry, Judge. I apologize. I'm hearing impaired, and I know your throat. What did you say?
I was saying that instead of doing it wherein there's extensive travel between the child going back and forth, that maybe she can do a week with the child every week, 1 week in Missouri.
1 week a month? Is that it?
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry, and it's me.
It's okay.
I'm very hearing impaired. Was it 1 week a month, ma'am?
I was saying that she can have visitation.
Yes.
Because the child is 3 and not officially in school, I'm okay with her having 1 week of visitation with the child a month. And I am going to note that visitation will be at a mother's expense. So you can visit for 1 week. I will also allow you to have a Georgia weekend visit as well. And that would likewise be at your expense. So if we can do first and third, first week, you could come to Georgia. Weekend, you could come to Georgia. Third weekend, you could get him for the week and bring him back the following Friday. Friday at 8 p.m. on Friday. And we'll do that until we kind of figure out what's going on.
And hold on, I'm sorry. So when do I pick him up? But I know I drop him off that Friday, you said?
First weekend, we would say Friday. You can pick them up Friday at daycare. But we say Friday from daycare so at any time on Friday from daycare would be fine. And then you would return them to school. You can either return them to school on Monday morning, or you can return him to dad's house on Sunday evening. And then the third weekend, you would pick him up on Friday from daycare, and you would deliver the child back to father to daycare at Friday to daycare or Friday to dad's house.
For the week visit, correct?
For the week visit.
So it'd be Friday to Friday.
It'd be Friday to Friday. Mhm.
Okay.
So generally, just so you'll be mindful, Ms. Kendall, I don't want you to make a lot of, well, I'm going to give you a slight bit of advice. I don't want you to make a lot of permanent decisions in St. Louis. So I know you might be looking at apartments, you might want to sign lease agreements. So I just want you to be mindful of the permanency of where you are, because you have moved from the state of Georgia. Georgia was where this child was born. Georgia's where for the last 2.5 years you've been raising this child. I'm not saying that the court does not grant permission for people to leave and then come up with some type of parenting plan that works. I am, however, saying I don't know necessarily what the court will do. And as many times as I have allowed it, I have many times not allowed it. Has just as many times not allowed it. And so I just want you to be mindful of that so that you don't put yourself in a financial strain. And it turns out the court says that, this is how this visitation is going to work, and it may not be financially in your position. So you just need to be mindful of making permanent decisions, i.e. like buying a house. And then the court decides that, whatever, there are a plethora of ways I can make a decision. I could say you'll visit once a week, or all visits be in Georgia, or I don't know, because I don't understand the circumstances of this child, what his needs are, et cetera, et cetera. But what I do know is the child was born here, raised here, reared here. You all met here. So I just want you to be mindful of those circumstances. But by the same token, if your position is you don't get any help here, there's no financially, there's nothing here for you, or whatever those issues might be, the court might very well make a decision in the opposite realm. I don't know, but I'm just putting that bug in your ear so you'll be mindful, particularly since you're
So with that being said, Judge, so I shouldn't pursue my master's here because I was about to get accepted into my pastoral master's program.
I'm not telling you what you should do, what you should not do. I'm giving you an outlook of some things you need to be considerate of. Okay, because you could very well start a master program that's going to be finished in a year, and it might take me a year to get to your case. I don't know. I can't tell you that, but I am telling you that you have left the state of Georgia with a child that was born here, raised here, reared here. There is a possibility of those findings against you. There's just as well a possibility that it might not be the case, and the court might construct something that allows the visitation. It just depends on the age of the child, the maturity of the child, your relationship, how much he makes, how much you make. There's a plethora of things I have to consider. But I just don't want you to be caught off guard by possibilities. And that's only because you're representing yourself. So this is not me prejudging. I'm just kind of giving you an outlook to be considerate of, okay?
Okay.
Judge, if I might.
Like I said, you have 5 days. All right.
I'm sorry, no, Judge, if I may jump in for a second. Just on the temporary basis I have that, I'm assuming you would want me to prepare the order to submit. Is that correct or no?
Yes, so you'll get, because you got granted portion of what you requested, you'll do the order. That is that she'll do a drug test.
And how will that be done?
You'll just indicate that she'll go in and take a drug test.
Okay.
You'll give her probably 5 days from the date I signed the order to do it. The documents would be sent to the court directly. If they're positive, I'll probably call us another hearing and we'll discuss it. If they are negative, then Mr. Drake will pay for it.
And where would I have to conduct the drug test at?
Just do it to any lab. So I don't know exactly what St. Louis has, but most of them have laboratories that will do a drug test.
Okay.
They have like Quest and.
Like Quest, I don't know what they might call them up there.
Yeah.
Like Quest labs, any
And-
LabCorp.
lab.
That's another one, yeah.
Yeah, you can find them in the book and just kind of walk in and take the test. Generally, a test is going to cost you anywhere from $100 to $300 to take it. And like I said, if you're negative, then Mr. Drake will reimburse you immediately. If you're positive, then I'll call another hearing.
And Judge, in terms of, it'll be joint legal as well. I'm assuming that given the child's location right now on a temporary basis, father would be the final, have tie-breaking authority on the temporary basis?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Right now, they'll make joint decisions to the extent there is a tiebreaker, Mr. Drake will make it. So of course, if you have an emergency issue while you're in St. Louis, while the week that you have him there, then of course, you would make those final decisions because they're emergency issues. But for example, let's say that during the week that he's there, you want him to attend some type of daycare, right? Because you still work during that week and you still want him to have a daycare experience. You and Mr. Drake would talk about which daycare he would go to, and then y'all would make a final decision. He wouldn't necessarily say, no, you can't go to daycare, but you all would discuss which one it might be, something like that.
So on the basis of daycare now, because he ended up moving Thimbani without my knowledge to a different location there in Georgia, and I'm not listed on none of the contact information. I don't get any of his daily reports.
So now
is that something he can now change? Because I do want to be informed on his day-to-day there.
So now, Mr. Drake, you would need to put her on there so that she could be listed as a parent and get the information.
One last thing, Judge, from my end, Ms. Kindle, I don't have an email address for you, and when I send a draft into the court, I'm required to copy you as well. So do you have a good email that I could use, please?
Why don't you put it in the chat, Ms. Kendall? And is that the same email that Ms. Marshall sent you notice to?
Yes, ma'am. I was going to say it's the same email I've been getting all of the notices through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just send it to Mr. Tanum just to make certain.
Yeah, I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Yeah, and that way he'll send that order to you that I'm going to sign. But essentially, I'm granting the motion for the drug test. I'll give you 5 days from the date the court signs the order to take the test. If it's positive, we'll have another hearing. If it's negative, you'll submit the cost to Mr. Drake. Mr. Drake will pay you within the next 5 days. You'll have visitation with the child the first and third weekend. The first week will be visit in Georgia. You can get him anywhere from Friday from daycare, anytime on Friday from daycare. Return the child to daycare on Monday morning at 9 a.m. or you can return him to father Sunday night by 7 p.m. And then on the third weekend, you can get him anytime on Friday at 8 p.m., returning the child back to daycare anytime on Friday, or return him to the dad's home Friday by 7 p.m.
Okay. Would all that be written down to me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. That was just a lot.
Yes.
All right. Any other issues?
No.
All right. Thank you. Y'all take care.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Take care. Oh, and one more thing too, Mr. Tanum, just so if you'll just put this in the bottom of the order that the court disclosed an very old relationship, and that the parties will have 5 days to file a motion for a recusal if they believe it's necessary.
Your Honor, when did you want the proposed order returned by?
Oh, Mr. Tanum, when can you present that proposed order to the
I
court?
have a huge trial on Tuesday. I think I could still get it out by Tuesday, Your Honor.
Okay, Tuesday the 20th.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that'll work because that'll come up too, because we just passed the third weekend. So let's see, we would not We would be on first, second, thirds.
And if Ms. Marshall would put also the email that I send it to you at, the best one, that would be great.
So let me ask you, Miss Kendall, you know, I gave you first and third and I flipped them. Do you want me to flip them so that you could start your first week in July so that you'll have a long week on the first weekend and a short weekend on the third? That way you could see them 2 weeks earlier. But you have a longer period. Or do you want me to keep it where it is so you can kind of financially get yourself together?
Yeah.
Because right now, you've already missed your first and third week in the month of June. So the next time that you would have a potential visit would be July 1st, would be July 1st. So that July 1st would be your first weekend, and it would be in Georgia and would be the short weekend. And then the next time you would have them would probably be sometime in mid-July for the week. Do you want me to keep it that way, or do you want me to give you your first week starting July 1st so that you'll get the child from like July 1st through July 7th?
You can make it the longer one because I do have a doctor's appointment that I can't miss that's coming up on. Doctor's appointment. Yeah, I have a doctor's appointment July the 8th.
Okay, so just keep it as is. So
Yes,
that your first weekend will be the short weekend in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go. All right, thank you so much. Y'all take care.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Yeah.